All right, wonderful. So today we have a few things that we wanted to discuss. Today was actually originally going to be a presentation day that we missed last week, but there has been quite a bit of activity going on in some provinces. So Quebec has had quite a bit of activity, and Ontario. So we will do a provincial update with that, as well as any other provinces that would like to add to the conversation. So that's kind of our outline. So to begin with, as you know, that there was the throne speech by Trudeau earlier this week. There were announcements made, such as expansion of the wage subsidy program and other programs, but we did not hear about rent subsidy yet. So that is something that we are continuing to connect with the government about. So this week we also sent a few more letters to connect with personnel that we can hopefully get rent subsidy on the docket. So we are continuing our best efforts to, first of all, connect with the government on that level. And then other than that, we have other things that we have been looking into, such as the adult fitness tax credit and things like that, but we have kind of put that on the back burner because we have bigger fish to fry. So we are focusing on what we need at this moment. So that being said, there are a few things that we want to review today, and that has to do with becoming a member of FIC, what that actually means, what the value proposition is. Many of you on this call are already members of FIC and have joined our videos or our meetings for quite a while now. And we really do want to present the benefits of it and have you join our team if you want to become a provincial council member with us in order to rally the troops. So what we would like to do is have a little bit of a discussion with you to begin. I can get Nathalie, I see that has joined us, and Nick as well. That's perfect. And then Scott can join in the conversation once he gets here. I don't know if I quite see him yet. But the first conversation we want to have is becoming a member of FIC value proposition. So if Nick or Nathalie, you want to take that away, please do. Oh, you're just on mute there.
There we go. Good? Okay.
Yeah.
So we thankfully are at the point now where we are, I think, close to finalizing where we are with the value proposition. So there's a little group of us, it being Nick, myself, Paula, and Perry, that have decided to get her done over the weekend. And so Paula's finishing some stuff. So we just needed somebody to look at the marketing copy on that a bit. We're pulling it back up to the national level so that it can be here's what FIC does, here's what we've done the last little while, and here's what it can do for you, realizing that at each province there's different priorities perhaps. So we're doing a national one and finishing that up, and then sending it out to our provincial council members, who I think we have a call next week, I think, Tricia, that I've booked that in, hoping that the value prop would be done, and then sharing some of the best practices we've had over the past 6 months to bring in new members to FIC. It's a living document, so this will be I think that's what I sent to Paula earlier. This will be the fall 2020 version of it. I think us striving to include everything everybody thinks needs to be in there is delaying the production of it. So we're going to get it out, understanding that as we talk to different club owners over the next months, we're going to continue to gather feedback to share what FIC does and how it can help them, and therefore why becoming a member is so critical to the future of FIC and to the salvation of our industry really right now, so that we can keep lobbying, PR, and support for those clubs and gyms and studios across the country. So hopefully that wraps it up. We want to have it in Trisha's lovely hands, I think, to send to the translator and then to the graphic designer early next week, so that by this call on Friday, we can show you the finished product. Which also makes me say, now is the time for feedback. Trisha sent it around a bunch of times. It's gone to the board of directors. It's gone to the provincial council members. I don't want to say speak now and forever, you know, but I'm going to say speak now for the fall one, or your feedback will be used in the winter 2021 version if we don't get the feedback before end of day.
I do have maybe two propositions for the document. In the section Jim, I don't know if it's good, you will decide. I was thinking that one of the things that is a value proposition, it's the chance to exchange with other leader in the industry. So I think that it's very important. I don't know. Whoops. Okay. Motion. So yeah, to exchange with other professionals of the industry, and also to have the chance to hear from leader of the industry. I'm thinking, for me, when I hear Black, for example, that is working with a large company, or Mo from Good Life Fitness, I think it's a very, very how do you say that, valuable. Yeah, so that's one thing. The other one was for the fitness professional, we speak about job opportunity. I think it's also to develop the knowledge of the industry to become potentially a future owner. I think that if we want to touch these people, we need to bring them to another level, because I don't think the FIC is for every fitness instructor. That's it.
Thank you, Evelyn. Just to let you know, sorry, and I should have specified this, I apologize. I was just finishing a presentation before coming on. We're doing the fitness business owner for now. So that's the first one we're putting out, which is, you know, club owner, operator, studio owner, operator, etc. Because that's the majority of who we're working with now. It doesn't mean we're not doing the other ones, but trying to do all four at the same time was slowing us down, and the provincial council members need to be able to start contacting gyms immediately. So we're starting with that, but that's great feedback for both of them, Evelyn, and so we'll take note of that. And chances are the feedback we'll get from the gyms and studios that we're looking to recruit will also help build up and beef up the other sections. But it has come up, Gabrielle also talked about it, I think pre-March, the idea of a fitness entrepreneur that didn't own either a bricks and mortar business or an education company or something like that was much smaller. Now the entrepreneurship in our industry is a completely different landscape than when it was before. And yes, if we want to keep supporting those people, we need to consider those things. So we'll keep building on that, but starting just now, what I'm promising for next week is the ones for gyms and studios and club owners and operators.
And we'll get that right. I mean, this document that we're looking at is just the very basic segments and value, the very high level value propositions. But we're also refining that that 2-pager that's like the Ontario value proposition, like the why, the how. That's what we're helping to refine for next week, right? And then people can specify that for each province.
Yes, that's the piece, which is the and I'm sorry, I'll try and see if I can find it while we're still talking. But well, essentially, unless Nick, you want to pop it back into the chat, because I don't know if it's moved a lot since your last Word version of that one.
It hasn't moved at all. I'm still waiting for feedback on it. Yeah.
Paula, we gave Paula till the weekend to do that, and then we're done. Because we got to move forward with it. So it is the one that is more of a 2-pager value prop of what FIC does or who FIC is, and then what it can do for gyms at a national level. Then all the PCs will be moving forward from there. So maybe, Nick, if you're able to pop it back in, that might be helpful. It's different than, sorry, Trisha, it's different than the one that Trisha's sending out, which is the segments. This is just for gyms, 2-pager for gyms.
Yeah, I think it's called Value Proposition for Ontario Coalition, because I just threw it together so that people could get something out to their colleagues in Ontario. But I'll try to. I'm on my phone, so I'll try to send it along, or do something to include it here. But yeah, I totally agree though, Evelyn. That's a great point. Definitely the feedback I've heard from the other gym owners is just the fact of connecting, whether it's for the information, the education, that whole connecting with other leaders in the industry is a big part of the value proposition for sure.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any other comments on what they would like to see on the document that I had shared? I think we're okay. All right, so let's then have a discussion about what kind of a membership works for you. So Scott, I'll actually give this to you to speak about when it comes to FIC memberships and what we have set up currently, as well as what works for members.
Yeah, great, thank you. So we know that everybody on the call and in the industry is struggling or has various levels of challenges, and so when we're talking about membership and pricing, we're trying to be as sensitive as we can and as lean as we can. So one of the things that FIC has always taken pride in is we've operated with a lean budget. We want to make sure that we have enough revenue to be sustainable and to provide value to our members. And right now, we believe the value is not only these calls and the sharing of best practices, but the lobbying. So we are looking at an annual operating budget of just over $225,000 a year. And what that will include is approximately $150,000 of lobbying efforts. And those lobbying efforts would be national as well as targeted provincial. And we want to be able to adapt and be fluid. And so when we look at that operating budget, if we had 400 locations participate, and if we were able to have a per location dues fee system, we would require $40 per month per location if we had 400 locations. Now that doesn't get us to the 225,000. That gets us to 190,000. So, or sorry, 160,000. So the balance would be through sponsorships, and that would be potential suppliers and other sponsors that would like to participate. If we were successful getting to 800 locations, then we could go with a $20 per location per month membership fee. And if we had 1,600 locations, then it could be $10 per month per location. So what we're looking for from the group today is feedback in terms of what is palatable, what makes sense. And I will also say, if we ran a surplus, we could look at reimbursing, or we could look at, putting it into a war chest and creating a rainy day fund. That's something we've done in the past, where we actually raised significant funds to go to court and challenge, the music tariffs. So that cost a lot of money. So we would look at, what would we do with that surplus if we had a surplus? So we work for the membership. We want to have feedback on what would be palatable and doable. We would look at a per location due structure. So we're looking for feedback, are we comfortable with $40? That's what we put on the website today, just to have something there. Or is that too much? So Tricia, I guess I'll turn it back to you and we can start getting some feedback.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. So when it comes to the price, like Scott had mentioned, on our website, we do have the $40 right now that we have set up. Let me see if I can share my screen here. So here's the website right now. So once you get to the website, you can go to become a member on any of these areas. And then it'll give you your membership options. And also keep in mind that we had dropped the price in order for it to be $40 a month. And we have also dropped a yearly fee down to make it a little bit more palatable, as Scott had mentioned, during this time of crisis. So we have different amounts for you to fill in. So if you have any discussions on if you're one facility, what would work for you, we'd really like to hear back. And then what we actually also have now is individual membership plans. And we have found that there have been many trainers or people who may not have their own clubs or do outdoor studios, that they can also have a individual membership plan. So we have that available as well. And then we have our sponsorships that are also available. And then these are going to be per month, or you can do them annually as well. So we do want to be able to show that. And then for sponsorships, if you want to click here, you can read about everything that you get from the different sponsorships. So please do, if could be a sponsor, if you can take a look at that, that would be great. And then these are all online payments where you would make an account with FIC. And then if you would like alternative payments, so you can do e-transfers as well and connect with me, direct deposit, credit card. So there's a number of options here for you as well. So that's the setup that we have currently right now. Any feedback on the amount that works the best for fitness clubs in general?
Yeah, Trish, it's me here. I reached out to about a dozen or so studios and smaller gyms that I have a connection with, and I would use that $40 per month as kind of a preliminary pricing, and I didn't receive any pushback. In fact, everyone seemed to see a lot of value in it. So I think that's pretty decent based on what I found in Ontario, at least.
Great, thank you. Other comments?
Yeah, here. I think we could go. I think we should go a little bit higher because let's say you go for $40 a month for 12 months. If you pay one shot, you save $20. It's not enough. I think we should go, on my point of view, at $50 a month. So it does like around $600 a year. So if you pay one shot, it's $450 or $460 would be good. So people wanting to save a little bit more, they're gonna give the amount right away. And at $50 a month, I think like if you do a little bit of publicity or whatever on Facebook, it's cheap, you know, $50 is nothing. So if you want to be part of a big structure that is national, that is helping you understand what government do, how you should do business, how you should like publicize, or just saying you're part of it, it's a big, I think it's a big statement, and it's reassuring for people that are having business with you. So I think 50 is fair enough. So I think we should go a little bit higher because the value of it is good.
Thank you. And I see, Dino, you have a comment as well about making it $49.99. Do you want to expand on that maybe? Okay, so quite a few people agree with the $50 benchmark.
Yeah, it just makes more sense to put 49 than 50 just for marketing and just to play tricks with the brain. That's kind of how we make membership sales, right? And this is the same thing I told Perry when he called me, is that I think $50 is fair per month. And if they really want to save, pay it up front and you'll get that 480 or whatever that you need from the people that want to save. But the people that would rather go monthly, we can make a little bit more money.
Yeah, I think there's enough things that having more money than anticipated is one of those good problems to have. There's a number of things that have been identified even the last couple of weeks, you know, needing to potentially at the national level, like help with more social media management, creating more content, you know, those types of things that the money can be spent on things that everyone will benefit from. So it's good to hear people think the price is higher, because there was the debate of going lower too. So
And anyway, if we go higher and we do a great job, like in the national or in each province, I think it's you need more money because we will have eventually to hire people to do some stuff. So the debates on how the industry is going to work and evolve, it's not like 6 months or a year. We're not just passing through the COVID stuff. We have to build something really, really strong. So all the gym sees the value. I don't know in other province, maybe it's the same, but in Quebec, we have the FCEI, like for independent enterprise, and they are like doing some lobby on the government, and it's big. They have a lot of membership, and they grow each year, and they do more stuff. So I think 50 is really, really fair, and we're just going to build stronger and stronger and do more stuff with the money we have. So I think it's good.
Plus, it's Perry. I just want to add as well. A lot of people might not be aware of a big push is the provincial lobbying as well. Just Gabriel just reminded me of that. So it's not just lobbying the federal government. The funds now are going to be to specific issues and challenges each individual province, and each province will have the ability to lobby their own provincial government from their FIC membership.
Hi guys, just to jump in. So when we did a huge promo launch to start the recruitment in Quebec a few months ago, the biggest concern was that gyms didn't have any loose cash lying around to be able to invest into something like this. So based on the conversations and the financial kind of freakouts, especially since we're on the verge of potentially reclosing here in Quebec, and I don't know how the rest of the provinces are doing, we'll see, but I would recommend starting at the 40 and letting people know that our plan is to increase the rate to 50, whether it be in a month, in 2 months, and have kind of a strategic plan moving forward to say, this is our current membership rate, this is what we're going at. It will be going up by X amount of time, and allowing people kind of a notice of join in at the $40 rate, or it will be going up after a certain amount of time to 50, because I know right now there are a lot of gyms in Quebec that are not willing to pay that price. Not when they understand that they don't, in their opinion, they don't have any side money ready to do that. They're still paying back the months that they were closed.
Can I say something about that? I follow what you see and I follow what you mean. Maybe the point I would like to ask here is, if we go at 40, what are we gonna say, like to validate or just to say to people, hey, we go for 40 to 50, and that's what we're gonna do more with the more money that you have to pay. I think we should go maybe at 50, and if your first year you come with us, you have a rebate. So if you're joining, it's a little bit less because it's your first year, and a lot of business do that. Like, you're joining, good, you have like 25% off or $10 a month off for your first year. So if you don't have a lot of money right now and you see the value of going in, you go in and you already know it's going to be 50. But if you're a big brand and you're already like, no, it's good for you to, $50 a month, it's nothing. Even if you don't have money, a lot, $50 a month to say, I'm a member of a national membership with people and with the norms and our gym. Like, if I join this, my gym is that way. So it's solid, and it's publicity for your gym. It's almost nothing to pay 50 or 40, for the difference. I think we're gonna lose money. So if we go at, let's say, 50 and then we go for a rebate, I think we're gonna have maybe more people in and keep the good money for the other ones. My point of view.
If we do 40 and we were able to exceed 400 locations, which I think we'd be able to do just based on Quebec's experience of getting 160 locations, we would run a surplus. And, then we can decide what we want to do with that surplus, whether we're rebating or we're expanding the lobbying efforts. And one of the things that's really really opened up my eyes is the power of this association and the power of creating these relationships with different ministries. So Quebec had a huge win You know, we have great working relationships with the ministers. In Alberta, we have not an open door policy, but if we want a meeting with the Minister of Economic Development, we can call them and get that meeting. So I think the future looks really great. I would propose that we start with 40, get as many locations on as we can. If we run a surplus, then, you know, we can ratchet up our lobbying even post-COVID. So we really need to, as an association, be sustainable. And I think we can do some amazing things post-COVID to really take this industry to the next level. So 40 makes sense to me, and I think we can get over 400 locations. Those are my 2 cents.
Same with that, Scott. We had concerns about it. We had brought it up at the board of directors meeting. So for simplicity's sake, for all the volunteers that are working to get these things done, and Trisha's time, if 40 is what's on the website, and it's $10 away from what some people think might be ideal, either up or down, let's just go. It's there, it's done. Next. I'm in a bit of a get her done kind of state today, as you guys can probably tell.
Emily, sorry, Nick, I'll just come to you in a second. Emily's had her hand up for a little while here.
Yeah, thanks, Trisha. I guess I just wanted to offer my 2 cents as somebody who myself would be a new member and speaking with a bunch of other potential members. And like I say, I have 40 people in mind, I think, that we could sign up. I think it's going to be 2 things are going to be really important. I don't think 40 versus 50 makes a massive difference. I agree, it's $10. I think what's going to be important is not trying to lock people into a long-term commitment. I think there's a lot of fear right now over, I have no idea if my business is going to survive 3 or 6 or 12 months and what my financials are going to be doing. So I think that's important. I do still agree that the value proposition has some gaps in terms of what are we getting. I would try to stay focused as much as you can on this is our goal. Our like singular or double goal right now as an organization is to lobby for rent relief and lobby for, you know, reduction in distancing in the provinces where that's still relevant or what that is. And those are the goals we're focused on, and that is what your money is doing right now. The other question I just wanted to throw out, Trisha, maybe mostly for you, is have you ever considered starting like a private Facebook group that is only for FIC members?
So we do have a private group that is for that the Quebec Coalition made, but we do have a public group that is for just FIC, but we don't have a FIC private group yet. So that is something.
We were talking about per province, though. We actually wanted to do that per province for networking purposes, for, you know, if we have those, the different frequency, we have a national call once a month, a provincial call once a month. We wanted to create those per province.
Yeah, Scott, I think it'd be interesting. I'm part of a couple from the States, and I know, again, the owners that I'm talking to right now, everybody's so underwater, so overwhelmed. And the questions are like, how do I look into partitions? What are the rules? Who creates them? How much do they cost? You know, how are you handling distancing? How are you handling membership drives? Were challenges, you know, successful in your studio? What type of messaging is working? Like, those are the types of questions that I know I have and that I'm hearing from others too. So from my perspective, and the people I'm speaking with, like if there was a $40 or $50 a month that's like, this is our goal, is we're doing this thing, you can see the value of FIC and then hopefully build the relationship and keep people engaged afterwards. I think that's how you would get the most success.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I think that's a good idea, because then it allows people to kind of come together and talk to those who are part of the unit and can exchange more of that networking and best practices and whatnot. So we'll definitely look into that, as well as because we're doing the different provinces and creating these coalitions, maybe having the leader who's doing that being the one to kind of facilitate this private Facebook group. I know Quebec, Samantha, if you want to speak to that Facebook private group and kind of how you have arranged that.
Yeah, so we basically organized, once we got the coalition going and we confirmed payments and all that stuff, we sent out an email with our private Facebook group link included in that email to our members who had paid directly to us, and told them that it was a private group. So we set up, it's a private group. If you want to join, you have to request. We only allow in anybody who is part of our coalition group. And essentially it became a hub because everybody was emailing Nathalie and only Nathalie, because that was the email they had. And Nathalie was bombarded with 40 emails a day almost, sometimes more, sometimes less. So we created this to have kind of more of these discussions. So when there was recurring questions popping up, things that didn't need to come directly from Nathalie and our lobbying group that were working with the government, the conversation was there. So understanding the language, giving concrete examples, situational cases. I'm looking to open my showers. Who's done it already? What system have you tried? Does it work? Does anybody have statistics on this? Does anybody have stats on that? So it kind of became really a central place for us all to have these common questions and really support the team, as opposed, and then this way our weekly emails that Nathalie sends out are really focused on government communications. Hi guys, these are the meetings I had this week. This is what happened in these meetings. This is where we're at. And then this way we get into the logistics and all those little nitty-gritty details more as a common communication and more on a community kind of Facebook discussion type style instead. It's been really successful. We have like over 20 people who have requested to have access to the group that we're not letting in. So there are a lot of people that want access and see it. And it's very clear in our description, you do have to be a member, you do have to pay to be a member, to have access to us and to have access to the information that we share. So another reason to be a member, pay, because it's all exclusive stuff that we get access to that nobody else gets access to, because we are doing this lobbying. They are the people who paid directly for our lobbying. The group that we worked with, that's directly where their money went. You know, the money went directly to paying for the lobbying efforts to reopen the gym, to working with the ministries. So they got exactly what they paid for.
Mm-hmm. I think that that's exactly what we're looking for in the value proposition, like you said. And the other thing also, like Emily was saying, I think that, not Emily, Scott, when you were saying to take the industry to the next level, I think it's a very strong sentence, unless, no, not unless, it's a very strong sentence, and that we need to describe what we mean by next level. I'm looking for that. What is the next level that the FIC is looking versus me, what I'm looking. So I think that we need to be very clear what we are focusing on, because if we say that it's to have some subsidies for the people I'm sorry, my English is terrible today. I'm very sorry. I don't know why it's that difficult today. So anyway, I think we need to be more clear on that. For me, that's what is missing on this. It's really what is the goal? What are we reaching? The three big points that will have an impact on all the industry, that will change the life of all the gyms and the clubs in Canada, and of the clients, obviously. So the next level needs to be described.
Yeah, first of all, I love your English. I think it's perfect. Second of all, what we've historically been talking about is advancing the interests of the industry to create more consumers. So working with government to have tax incentives for people that are investing in their health. So whether that's a tax credit or they can deduct it as a healthcare expense, if they're working with a registered exercise professional. As an example, we have a proposal in with the government in Alberta to actually have funding for patients who join a gym or work with an online coach, that the funding pays for their first 2 months of membership. So to create that lasting behavior change. So we're looking at ways to work with government to create more consumers. And, the reality is only 18% of people are active in this country. So there's a inactivity epidemic. It costs the healthcare system $12 billion a year. And we are the solution. And we need to work with government to educate them on the fact that we have qualified registered exercise professionals from coast to coast, ready, willing, and able to work with people. And that's that is where we need to go. So that's kind of the next step in terms of lobbying. And what we found is these relationships we're creating now are going to open up the doors for us next year. I hope that helps.
Everybody needs to know what you just said. We need to find a way to communicate it to a lot of people.
Trisha, write it down.
Oh, I've been writing away. Another thing I do want to mention is something that has come up in our other calls, and that was the idea of having a decal or having something to share that makes you a part of FIC. So I do just want to share something that we have come up with. We are kind of tweaking it a little bit. So we have one that is for member facilities. So that's going to be those that are members with us that have subscribed to becoming members with us. We have proud partners, so this would include those who we partner with, so CanFit Pro, FitBiz Weekly. Then we have proud supporter for those who are our sponsors. And then when we also have a switch over to the French side. So we have those available too. And I know that was something that people wanted to have as a way to show that they are members of FIC. So we will have that. And then we'll actually create one that is a little bit more detailed when it comes to what it means to be a member of FIC, to signify that your club or your sponsorship represents something. And then I see Dino, and I think Perry also mentioned it earlier today on a different message, but to also include practice safe fitness, the hashtag onto the decals as well. So that's something we can do. Yeah. Any comments on that?
Yeah, that is the point I wanted to bring earlier. If you put that on your Facebook, or if you put that on your business, it's a statement, and it's also publicity. So that this is worth something, because you're saying you're part of something bigger than you, bigger than just your small business, and you're part of a big group, knowing what to do, having best practices, and this is worth something. So that's why I'm saying we should charge a little bit more. And if you pay one shot, you have a big discount. But like I write, if you don't think your business is gonna maybe go for 3, 4, 5 months, take the monthly payment, go a little bit lower, and don't like go for a big payment one shot. But you're part of something. This is even more, like you go for 60 or 80 a month. Being part of this, knowing, saving time, that's worth a lot. So good job for the logo.
Great, thank you. So Jeff, thank you for your comment about having the full names on there. We can definitely look into variations of the logo as well, because also we want to be able to think about it as a way to represent who we are, but also make it legible. So sometimes that's something that we need to be very careful of, because if you start adding more text, it starts being something that people don't exactly read through. So we'll do a couple of variations, so those who want to have more text on there have that option as well.
Just quickly, you might just want to have a separate one that is just the practice safe fitness, and that explains like that's clearly communicating like this facility follows the higher guidelines around, especially around COVID. You know, that because that was the other indication people wanted from the decal too, right? Not just that they're an FIC member, but hey, we are healthy and safe because we're following these higher guidelines, and this is sort of a stamp of you know that we're doing that. Whether that's just like under the hashtag practice safe fitness and you know we follow safe guidelines, whatever it is, that can be an indication as well.
And Angela, I really like your comment here about making them yearly. So that's excellent. We will put the year on them so that everybody knows and is up to date with the logo as well. So thank you for bringing that up. So that being said, let's actually move on to the provincial update, because I know Quebec has had so much happen in this past week and we all want to know and celebrate with Quebec. So let's hear what is going on there.
Never a dull day around here. So the reclosures are part of the conversation in Quebec, and there's a lot going on here. There's a 4-color system that has come out. As soon as this call is done, I need to call our government official back because there's some stuff that's being sent to the gyms that's different than what they told us. But let's begin with where we started on Sunday, when the reclosure strategies were being communicated. There was a question, and it was asked by a journalist finally, and Charlie reached out to that journalist and gave her some props, and so now we have a new contact in the media that said what's happening with gyms. And essentially what the government official responded in a press conference, and it's on Charlie and I's, all of our social media channels, if you guys want to pop it. I know it's in French. Charlie very kindly prepared an English transcript to that, which I'm sure he can make available to everybody. So what the government official essentially said was, yes, there were hypotheses we had back when COVID started about where high risk places were. The reality of those now are very different in some instances, and sport and gyms is one of those examples. He therefore confirmed that we are not seeing high levels of either COVID presence or transmission in gyms, even though if you look back, and unfortunately some of those graphics are still put out of what doctors and health officials and everybody else thought gyms were going to be high risk, he's like, they're actually not. And so we have that there. Thank you, Charlie, just popped it into the chat, the transcript of that. So that was the first thing that happened on Sunday. And then on Tuesday, we had, so this is a man who works for the Public Health Authority in Quebec, a doctor that works for the Public Health Authority in Quebec. We posted it on our Facebook page and are trying to get everybody to put it out as much as possible, because us saying it, as we are realizing, is not sufficient to convince either our members or the general public or anybody else. On Tuesday during our call, our contact at the sport minister's office, that's the one that is in charge of us, also confirmed that there have not been tracing and contagion cases, or very few anyways, in sport and fitness. Remember, they have all sports, so they have all the federations. I think there was like a deck ball tournament and some soccer tournament where there was an issue, but those were both in the spectators. There were far too many and too close to one another. But she confirmed, because I showed her the data that we had from our 2 point whatever million check-ins, and very few cases and no tracing, or very few tracing in FIC's survey. So again, it's not a study, it's FIC, it's a survey of FIC members that created that data. I sent it to her, she asked for it, she said, yes, please send it to me. And she said, I'm confirming also, sport is not high risk. They always say so far, and in the Quebec government right now, anything can change in legit 24 hours. So we got to keep an eye on ourselves, and we hopefully no cowboys are going to ruin it for the rest of us. But so far, gyms are safe. Then I had a call with the office of the Minister of Health. And the Minister of Health is the one who's making the decisions right now. And she said the same thing. She confirmed that gyms are not a vector of contagion. And right now the issue is with vectors of contagion. In Quebec, it's very much like it has been everywhere else, private parties, gatherings, blah, blah, blah. But even when it comes to businesses, gyms are not vectors of contagion. So from our standpoint here in Quebec, we have verified with 3 government bodies right now, the Public Health Authority, the Minister of Sport, who's in charge of us, and the Minister of Health, who's the one who's making the decisions, have all confirmed that gyms are not places where there are a high number of infections, nor places where the contagions and the tracing takes place. And so we are now in a place where we want to communicate this. So this is not a press release per se, but we want to strategically communicate this to the general public, and the best ways of doing that are by utilizing our members, as we've all talked about over the past weeks, that can say it for themselves, that they feel safe, and this is why they go to the gyms, as well as some strategic people in the press. We've got a couple of them, one that had worked really well with Evelyn and Energy Cardio the week before we managed to get the opening date. So they are saying, we're here for you. If you need anything, call us. We've got a couple of those, as well as the journalist who asked the question, who Charlie gave props to as a private message on Facebook, but it worked, and she's like, happy to help. I wanted to clarify it for you guys. So we've got a couple of assets in the media that are ready and willing to communicate our data, supported by confirmations of 3 public health authorities. That's our plan moving forward. And we have a call, the Quebec Coalition has a call today in 15 minutes to go over that. Oh, the other thing is we're looking at, from the government, is looking at shrinking the number of people per space. They didn't tell us anything on Tuesday, yet they've been sending emails to Jim that it's gone from 250 to 25 in the orange zone. As soon in 13 minutes, I'm picking up the phone because I've sent 4 emails in the last 24 hours to see whether or not that actually affects Jim. It wasn't supposed to, but there's a little bit of right hand not telling the left hand what's going on right now. So I'm going to confirm that. And if that's the case, it's for all businesses in Quebec. And so that might be, unfortunately, something we have to deal with, us being in what's called the orange zone now, or even the yellow zone for 50 people. So I'll keep you guys posted on that.
Thank you. That was a great thing to share. Let's actually go to our next topic, which is Ontario, because there has been quite a bit of talk on PR in Ontario and some discussions there. So if somebody from Ontario wants to pick up on that conversation.
Sure. Just there's been a flurry in the behind the scenes. There's been several conversations just around this and not getting out front of things. Just everybody taking a breath. There was an article that came out yesterday. The Ontario Hospital Association said that they think that the government should put more restrictions on restaurants and mention gyms as well. Having said that, just while we were in this call, the provincial government in Ontario just announced some further restrictions, and they're only on restaurants. And last call at bars and restaurants is now 11 p.m. All strip clubs are closed and requires all businesses to comply with the advice of the chief medical officer. So they specifically targeted bars and restaurants and strip clubs because those are places they're seeing outbreaks, and gyms were not mentioned in this, which is a positive indicator. I've reached out directly to the Ontario Hospital Association. Luckily, that used to be one of my the members of the gym that I used to run downtown. They were in the same building, so I know a number of people over there. So I've engaged with them to see if we can start a dialogue and just talk to somebody over there to let them know what the fitness industry is doing in Ontario and hear from them what they what they'd like to see in terms of and just open that dialogue with them so that we can at least have that. In terms of the PR stuff, again, the strategy, as Nathalie perfectly communicated here, that was effective, was working directly with the government first and getting them on side, and then working it through the social channels and not jumping the gun to the press because of all the risks that how the press could spin things. So we do have a call next week, and we're going to try and make sure that there's a solid strategy in terms of messaging, talking points that people want to iterate if the press does contact them, who to refer to, all of those things. So yeah, a little bit of
Nick,
it was a little, yep.
I just was wondering if you wanted to fill the group in. There was apparently a call last week between yourselves and Jeff and Krista with Good Life with respect to the sharing numbers and the risks of sharing specific numbers, which fundamentally I think I had addressed that on the last call as a pretty big risk. But I would like to I think it would be very helpful for the group to hear a little bit about what was discussed on that call and what specific numbers were of concern to Good Life, who's the largest operator in Canada, and ultimately, what was decided.
Sure, absolutely. So the risk of sharing survey numbers, especially to the public, obviously the press is going to take those how they will and turn it into clickbaits, and there's a huge risk of how that is, as we've seen from what happened with URSA in the US and the stats that they put out on behalf of the industry. So anything the concern is anything that looks too self-serving on behalf of the industry is going to be spun that way and could be more damaging than it could be positive. And so sharing numbers around around those around the number of infections. Obviously the transmission numbers are good, but you don't know how that narrative is going to be taken. And I think that was the concern, from Good Life, the concern from seeing what's happened with the URSA numbers. And it's the same thing that you echoed last week, Blake, in terms of just wanting to control the narrative and not letting it get out of our control. Yeah. So
I'm just going to stop there for a quick sec, Nick. I mean, listen,
I do think I agree with that. But I do think there are some numbers that are interesting to be able to share as an industry. And to me, if you look at this whole formula of COVID cases over as the numerator over top of check-ins, which is the denominator, I don't agree with sharing that either. I think that's smart. If we start getting into that, there's all kinds of subjectivity that makes us a target. But I do think that it's, I do want, and I think we'll discuss this next week on our call that I booked with a number of the individuals in this group. But I think we have to think about sharing the denominator, which is the total check-ins, because that shows a lot of the confidence that's been placed in the fitness industry to put a safe experience forward. And I really believe that I want to push this group very strongly to think about including that in the messaging. And again, I think we'll take this offline, this discussion. I'd really like to make sure that we're the bigger operators certainly are all aligned and are all willing to be a part of that statement, because I think without one or two of the big operators, we're definitely going to be a lot weaker in terms of what we can do with it. So those are my comments, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody in this group kind of heard that discussion and is I really think that sharing the denominator or sharing the check-ins is going to be a real key component of our what our messaging needs to be.
I would say though, the only thing I'll say to that, and I agree, Blake, but we need to talk to government first. So any message, any statistics needs to go to government first. We've seen the power of that with Quebec, and we've seen what happens the other way with URSA, and they just are getting crucified in the media. So we need to have those government conversations before we share statistics publicly, I believe.
Agreed. And no one knows that more than me.
Yeah.
Agreed, Scott.
I was the one excited to do a press
that more than
release,
me,
and I've been cautioned for it. So.
Yeah.
No one knows that more than Orange Theory, who was at the forefront of spreading that in the U.S. and that's a major PR misstep on our part. So I think from a credibility standpoint, we can speak to the negative effects of that. But I do think that there is a messaging that can include some numbers that's really important here. And you're right, we should go to government first.
And the one number that I asked from people was just the number of locations, the number of staff, and number of members, and that just shows the size of the coalition. So we got everyone pretty much responded with that number. I'm still working with Jeff and Krista to see if we can get that exact number from Good Life to add into that, because that adds a significant size to the coalition. And that's just along to say, hey, listen, this is the size of the group that's working together in Ontario and Canada in general, which I think is a strong part of the story, which that's not going to be, I can't see how that can be misconstrued. The other thing I think that's important to highlight that was part of that conversation was just the language around essential and how that can have negative consequences. So again, even getting declared as an essential business has big implications. It could mean more restrictions. The government has more control. There could be more expectation on what they can do. It's a very, very big risk, as much as we've seen it maybe be successful in other countries or other places. And it's
Nick.
Yeah.
It's I have to tell you, I'm pretty perturbed, but you have a meeting, we're moving this along. You guys pull a sidebar, you have a meeting. We tell you that the main person we wanted there has to attend a funeral and be a pallbearer. And I'm sorry, but, I'm getting sick of this getting railroaded. And either we're all in it together or we're not. I'm not going around pulling side meetings or any side discussions. I'm just trying to get the people on the phone. Either they want to be part of it or they don't.
Yeah, no, I agree, Chuck. I tried to loop David in immediately, and I've been trying to coordinate everybody from yourself and David, everybody into that group ever since. It's just with people's schedules and wanting to move things forward. I'm trying to do my best to keep everybody, informed of everything that happened, and let David know what happened within that call as well. Because it kind of, again, caught me by surprise too. So just trying to do our best to keep everything as open as possible for everybody. And hence why a lot of that communication that I had to put out yesterday happened amongst me juggling 9 other things for my own business. So I get where you're at, with that. And I want to make sure that we're as inclusive and transparent as possible. And I urge everybody who's in this call to try to do the same, because we don't want to have this pushback or have any sort of incongruency in what's happening here.
Thank you for that, Nick. Any other comments on this? Because we do want to make sure that we are in this together and moving forward together, making sure that we are as inclusive as possible. I know that it is hard to get everybody on the phone at the same time, so it's a good thing that we are continuing conversation without necessarily acting rash and going ahead with just decisions from a few people. So thank you everyone for keeping the conversation going. Any other comments for today on our topics?
Just in Alberta, just a quick update. We do have a meeting next week, Friday, with the Minister of Economic Development as well as the Associate Minister of Health, at which time we will be presenting our statistics and hopefully getting verbal and written confirmation that they're not seeing spread in facilities. And we are also trying to get just a definition of how do they make the decision on who's at 3 meters, who's at 2 meters, showing the data from other provinces that are at 2 meters. What's the rationale behind that decision making? So we really want to get some clarity there, because it seems to be a bit of a lopsided playing field right now. But that meeting's scheduled for next Friday afternoon, so should have a lot more exciting updates after that.
Yeah, and another thing I do want to mention is that next Friday, directly after this call, we are going to be doing a session hosted by Nathalie, and she's going to be doing a little bit of a training of what they did in Quebec in order to collect clubs and reach out to them in order to become members of FIC. So if you are in a province and you have volunteered to connect with other clubs, this is going to be a great session for you to attend. So maybe let me know and let Nathalie know, and we can make sure that you do receive the invite for that, because we do need to make sure that we can connect with each other in order to move forward together and continue doing what we do for FIC. So that being said, we will conclude our meeting for today, unless there's any last words. No, I think we're okay. So I will see you all again next week. And if there are any other comments or questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Tricia. Bye.
Thank you.